much ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome His Excellency President William Ruto to make his remarks. Thank you.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kenya and welcome to the Africa Climate Summit.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Florence Gishoya from Access Coalition. Thank you so much for attending our side event. And so Access Coalition is the alliance of civil society organizations that work and advocate for clean energy access. And throughout this session, we hope that you have key takeaways that you can be able to implement, and you can also look for ways where we can partner together probably in the future. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Evans Kitui, who is our moderator for the day, and we'll have a session for a panel discussion, and then we'll have a few minutes for Q&A before we conclude. Thank you so much.
So my first question goes to John Kioli. What are the best practices that CSOs have identified that synergize partnerships, building policy formulation and building innovative approaches for decentralized energy systems?
I'm sure in this room there are people who are implementing pilots of projects within solar, wind, and even small hydros. For us as civil society, we want to midwife these pilots to be upscaled so that they can be bigger projects, and that's why we call upon the ministry not to start afresh, not to reinvent the wheel, but to uptake whatever we have because it is proven pilots so that it can be upscaled to bigger and larger projects. The second thing, in Kenya specifically, there is a fund also for energy within the county that can be established using the Energy Act of 2019. So we marshal the counties to have action plans on energy, to have policies on energy, and through that, then they can connect and get funding, because the key issue is funding towards, off-grid projects.
I really think how CAN works particularly is really taking a people-centered approach to really interact with communities and understand their needs in order for us to really understand what the intervention or the right intervention should be. So I think civil society has that extra arm to really understand the needs of communities that are really impacted, and that really allows us to make really important interventions that can also be more sustainable, that can also be more relevant to the local context in which we operate.
I don't know what experience Access Coalition has had and the development partners that support the work you do.
We collaborate with the government in terms of issues of policy advocacy, and we work through 3 work streams that engages the multilateral development banks, because we are looking in terms of issues of financial flows that are provided on the energy access ecosystem to ensure that we provide the solutions that meet the demands of the communities. We have a multilateral development working group that engages civil society organizations to address issues and amplify the voices that they would want the multilateral development banks to listen. We also have an SDG 7 working group. That is where we discuss all issues that are connected with the SDG 7, and also the capacity building and learning working group, because we believe knowledge is important for this issue, especially when you're coming to the issues of decentralized renewable energy system.
You know, when you come to the private sector, the banking industry, the financial institutions that are interested in investing in, let me say, decentralized energy systems, they have complained about a wide range of barriers that hinder them from investing significantly.
There are quite a number of barriers, but the good thing is there are a lot of things that we are doing in terms of making finance available. Of course, for smaller decentralized systems, that's not a problem. We've now gotten solutions for captive solar markets We are combining a number of things, de-risking instruments, and now we've got a lot of partners who are coming with good pari passu guarantees. We are having first loss guarantees that are kicking in. We have blended finance solutions because we're also doing pre-carbon financing.
Maybe kindly tell us from the Kenya government perspective, is the policy environment, is something happening to ensure that it's conducive enough to deliver on those objectives for decentralized energy access, particularly for communities that are off-grid?
The ministry is aware of where we are going. We have quite robust policies in place. We have the policy of 2019, which is we have been using for energy. We also have an act which has been mentioned here of 2019, which attempted to look at the two levels of government, because now Kenya we have the national and the devolved government. But the challenge is is in the off-grid areas, and we had been having a long-standing project on electrifying public institutions. But now we are through what Naivasha has mentioned and what Kiori had mentioned earlier. We are upscaling the assets now to solar, small hydros. But on solar, we have a project which now is the Kenya Off-Grid Solar Assets Project, the COSA project. And it has a very component on standalone, which is doing very well. And also there's a component of mini grids, which is being rolled out. And we expect that through that project, those Kenyans who are off-grid areas can be able to access electricity.
I know that for years, the Africa Development Bank has been supporting projects on decentralized energy systems. And as we realize at the moment we're talking about this just transition slogan, has this in any way distorted the bank's policies and programs as you go forward?
Just energy transition, I call it a deliberate ambiguity. And I'll explain what I mean by deliberate ambiguity. Because we have created a notion of a term that we want to use to bring in a lot of people in, but sometimes it means different things to different people at different times. And it's deliberately ambiguous in a way so that all of us here can sit around the table and keep asking ourselves, what is that transition? The question is, what are you transitioning from? Do you call it just transition when you're talking of no energy access at all? So what we have done at the level of AFDB, and we're very honest and very bold about this, is to be able to understand where countries are in the energy development spectrum, and to be able to say what are the entry points in each country. You cannot force a country that does not have water resources to do hydro investment. You cannot force a country that does not have geothermal potential to do geothermal investment. So it's important to understand and take the stock of what a country has in natural resources.
In different countries across Africa, and we'll just focus on Africa for the moment, there are different levels of readiness for this transition. So, for example, in countries like Kenya and Ghana, where there is now 75-80% access to the grid, then that provides a massive opportunity to use the extended access to for people to access electricity in order to get access to clean cooking. Clearly, a lot of people have doubts around that, saying, "Oh, we're not. It's far too expensive. It's far too soon to be heading down that road." And I think as a coalition, we're looking at 3 solutions to that. Number one is riding on the back of the grid extension program itself, and sometimes, like the recent agreement in Rwanda, that's actually being done through the successes of mini-grid companies in communities that are on the edges of the grid. Secondly, we are working on a program of development with mini-grid companies. Frequently, they've said to us, we can see the real potential of increasing the consumption per customer that can drive down the unit cost of electricity. However, Frequently, you're not able to do that and redesign the method and the unit cost because of the financing model that you have. The last point is, okay, not everywhere is going to get access to mini-grids. There are still many very marginalised communities where the only access to electricity is going to come through solar home systems. We're beginning to see newer innovations come into play which also make it feasible. It's a way off yet, but there are new technologies emerging. We're working with a NGO in Malawi who's managed to get a solar system with which you can cook, not with a battery, but during the daytime for $200.
Straight to the audience. I want to catch a few questions.
Given that we work in the carbon space, carbon credit space, we have seen that most community-based projects and startups that are in the renewable energy space have not been able to achieve or to be onboarded on the carbon credit schemes because of scale. So as an association of community voices, how do you think that that one should be solved? Because a lot of people have mentioned that the cost of registering carbon credit project is so high to an extent that small projects will never access it.
We have a very high potential in these counties to such projects that you're calling carbon credit projects, because again, I know a project in Kitui where they install cooking stoves, permanent ones in the house. We have seen them installing more than 5,000 cooking stoves in these areas. So I see that. But the problem is, and this can be addressed by Somorin, together with Naivasha, there is what we call unbankable projects. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Most of the projects are in solar, household solar lanterns. Nobody will give you a loan together, apart from those revolving loans, which again drop you to a bigger problem. I've seen families break because of those small loans. Now, I'm asking FDB to de-risk Equity Bank so that they buy that risk and give Equity Bank, and Equity Bank will see this as a bankable project, will be home and dry.
What sort of intervention is the government putting in place to ensure that all these counties, mostly the ones that are in marginalized areas, are being able to develop their county energy plans, because the energy plans are going to ensure that we are able to take stock of the resources and the potential to be able to support our communities to access electricity.
Most of the counties have energy plans, and I said that we have a EU program which has been assisting counties so far, and other partners. We are past 20 counties which have led the energy plans. How we are looking at it is to talk to more partners so that we can cover all the counties, so that we can reach all of them. EU has come, Japan has come, and others who I might not mention here, who have assisted counties. So we are requesting for more assistance so that more counties can have the plans.
The cost of electricity bills is becoming higher. Now, when dealing with access to now e-cooking, how do we bridge the gap between cost of living and now trying the communities to transition to electricity cooking?
There are two cost issues involved with transitioning to electric cooking or any other higher tier cooking. Number one is the cost of the appliance, which in the case of electric cooking devices tends to be higher than an improved cook stove, or even in some cases in the lower entry gas stoves. But having said that, you can get access now for $50, $60 to a very good quality electric pressure cooker, and less than that for an induction stove. Secondly, then, is obviously once you have the appliance, how much it costs you per month in terms of how you're then going to utilize it. So as a program, what we've been looking at are various ways of being able to reduce both of those areas. So the traditional way within the clean cooking sector is that you find ways of subsidizing the initial purchase. So obviously with these kinds of appliances, you need to reduce that cost further because the appliances start at a higher cost. But our colleagues in NDEV are operating RBF programs in various countries which have seen the cost of these fall quite substantially, and actually that's led to a significant increase in the take-up of these technologies.
I think with that, I want to thank the audience for taking your time to choose this among the many tens of tents around here to come and spend your time with us to share that knowledge. Let's clap for the audience, please.
been a pleasure, and I'm very privileged to be at the African Climate Summit, and I've learned a lot from other people that I've met online. Now I get to see them in person to get to learn what they are doing in their communities and how I can, use that in my advocacy in Ghana.
This side event brought information to help improve the work that we do in Nigeria, and also a wake-up call for Access Global to also see how best they deepen conversation and the collaboration within Access Coalition in Nigeria to reach out to more grassroots. We have about 250 million people, so we are still backward with energy poverty, and there is need for integration, improvement and enhancement to see that there is energy access for all.
So as coalition, we forge forward for partnerships, we forge forward for collaborations amongst the stakeholders, and even we look forward to the commitments by the governments in Africa in terms of the declaration that they have made, even as they pursue that to COP. We look forward that will materialize, that it was not just a talk during the summit and also during the Africa Climate Week, but we would want to see growth and accelerating those decisions to better outcomes.
We've just concluded our side event that was well attended, and we had different stakeholders from government, from civil society organizations, from NGOs, private financing institutions, as well as multilateral development banks. And it has been a success because we were not just delving into the topics on highlighting the challenges, but we were also quick to showcase the solutions that we can have and also showcase possibilities of future collaborations and partnerships between different stakeholders.